Hey, good morning. It's another one of our first fives. So today we're talking about this story from Matthew chapter 1. And it's an interesting story because, like many of us, Jesus has a family history. And maybe you're like me, you meet someone and you wonder about their family history. And if their life looks good and their family looks good, most of us assume their past is really good. But that's not always the case. In fact, if I were to go back on one of my sides of the family, the one I know the most probably, on my mom's side, I go back very far and it's pretty messed up. But over time, some of those family members came to know Jesus and their lives were changed. And so our family tree looks radically different from my grandfather on than it did even before that. But what about your family tree? What are the things in your family tree that really change everything? Is it your life? Is it your history? Because the truth is, sometimes we have a history and a past that we may not be so proud of, or we might notice a history or past that we didn't even catch the significance the first time. And I really think that's the significance of the genealogy, the history of Jesus' family. So if you go back in Genesis chapter 1, I want to call your attention to 5 people in Jesus' genealogy. Because normally when we gave the history of someone's family, we only shared the men historically. Now, we know today that's not really how we do this, but here's what happens here. So we see early on, we get to this place where it says, Judah, the father of Perez and Zerah, whose mother was Tamar. Who? Tamar actually was Judah's daughter-in-law. Long story short, she hooks up with her father-in-law, and he becomes the father of her children because her husband had died. I know, weird story, but it's in the Bible, and she's in Jesus' line. We keep going ahead. We jump down, and all of a sudden we get to this place where it says, the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab. Now, Rahab was a prostitute. She was a prostitute in Jericho who actually helped the Israelites take over the city of Jericho. So she actually went from being this person kind of on the outside to doing something significant. Then we jump ahead, and then it says, Boaz, the father of Obed, whose mother was Ruth. Now, who was Ruth? Ruth was a woman who was a Moabite, right? Moabites were literally said to be dismissed or even killed. They were supposed to be just so messed up. And yet, here's one of them who's in the line of Jesus, in his family tree. We jump ahead and it says, David was the father of Solomon, whose mother had been Uriah's wife. Wait a minute. Uriah's wife. Who's Uriah's wife? Oh yeah, that's Bathsheba. That's the one that David made an adulterer by when he saw her bathing on the roof, and you can get the rest of the story from there. And so you see them. So now we've got Tamar with father-in-law, Rahab, the prostitute, Ruth, who is a part of the people that should be dismissed and not ever part of, Bathsheba, the adulterer, and you've got Mary, the mother of Jesus. Right? So in Jesus' genealogy, they list these women. It's as if what God is saying through this line of people is, hey, listen, every family has a story. Every person has a past. Every person, every story matter to God. And so maybe what you and I need to hear in this story, the line of Jesus, is this, that eventually God can redeem all our family trees. And also, God uses men and women to do his work in the world. And so we believe God calls people red, yellow, black, and white, male and female, young and old. God invites all people to be his unique people. And so this day, if you ever find yourself wondering where you fit in the pecking order, wondering about your past or your future, know this, that in Jesus' own family tree, there's some messed up stories. But here's the thing that God does again and again, not just in our family trees, but in our hearts and our lives. He redeems all things. And often, he redeems our stories so that what has been in the past, whether it's in our family tree or in our own personal life, God can take that past and it doesn't have to define our future. We can understand it. We can know the story. We can know the line of people or the things that have happened before, but they don't have to define our future. Because then we see Jesus comes, and Jesus, who is called the Christ, the Savior, the Messiah. And he comes not just to save family trees, but to save you and I. May you find this day filled with God's grace and his peace and his hope and his love. We'll see you tomorrow.